Greetings, travelers, and welcome to the latest Tempo Wild Meta Snapshot. As of this report, the next expansion, Voyage to the Sunken City, was just announced, which means the Onyxia's Lair meta is coming to a close. The meta has enjoyed a definite increase in variety in the past few weeks, and it feels like Wild is finally moving past the massive gravity of United in Stormwind. By our reckoning, there are a dozen high-tier strategies that are defining the metagame, and dozens more that are legend viable. Will that change after Voyage to the Sunken City? It's way too soon to tell, but in the meantime, let's take a closer look at the current meta and the best strategies for climbing to Legend and beyond. So let's start with Tier 1. In our last report, we recognized 5 Tier 1 decks: Mecha'thun Warlock, Minion Innerfire Priest, Questline Hunter, Even Warlock, and Beast Druid. These decks are still our top recommendations for climbing, but they all have their advantages and disadvantages, and none of them have an iron grip on the meta. For instance, Mecha'thun Warlock is now the format's premier combo deck with an inevitable win condition, but it can struggle against fast face aggro and faster combos. Minion Innerfire Priest can dominate aggro and race slower decks with an OTK combo of its own, but it's weak against Shaman and Druid. Questline Hunter demolishes aggro with all of its removal, but it has issues with large minions and Druid armor gain. Speaking of big minions, Even Warlock puts them on the board faster than anything else, but sometimes big giants and Battlegrounds Battlemaster aren't fast enough to race decks like Innerfire Priest or Mecha'thun Warlock. Finally, we have Beast Druid, which is the aggro deck to rule all the aggro decks in this meta, though it's not the greatest against the other Tier 1 decks. An interesting quirk of this meta, though, is that with the exception of Questline Hunter, this group of decks are not that exceptionally popular, except at the highest levels of Legend. The most popular decks are still holdovers from the early Alterac Valley meta, and of those, Pirate Warrior is the most common of them all. The deck is still powerful, and it still dominates the field at lower levels, but every Tier 1 deck has a positive matchup against it, and many other popular decks do too, which suggests that Pirate Warrior may soon run its course. A similar thing can be said of Freeze Shaman, which is starting to feel a bit dated, even if it enjoys a better matchup spread against Tier 1 than Pirates do. Dragon Druid is also proving to be quite popular, and it's rising up to Tier 2 in this snapshot. Kazakhstan is a solid win condition even in Wild, but if we're being honest, Oaken Summons is still doing most of the heavy lifting. If you want to move away from the pack, Quest Rogue is starting to pick up steam as a quick and reliable combo deck that can race Druids and Warlocks, and beyond that, we have old standbys like Linecracker Druid, Aggro Priest, and Pain Warlock as viable options to round out our top tier picks. Altogether, we're just scratching the surface of what's viable in Wild right now, but with Voyage to the Sunken City coming out in just a few weeks, another meta shakeup could be right around the corner. If you're a fan of variety in Wild, now is the time to climb, so be sure to check out the full meta report on tempostorm.com for all of the details, and as always, thank you for watching.